Joining me now, Director of Save Our States, Trent England. Trent, before we get into my crazy theories on America breaking up and all that, the Electoral College is one of these things that we political nerds generally know about, but the American people really, because we don't get taught anything in schools anymore, really don't understand what it is and why it is. So why don't you give us the Electoral College 101 course for me real quick?
Absolutely glad to do that, Jesse. You're right. I mean, unfortunately, this was something that the American founders pretty much all agreed on. They all liked. They thought it was a great system. And nowadays, we don't even teach our kids or anybody how all this works. Basically, what the founders wanted was a state-based two-step system to elect the president, because if you have a state-based two-step system, then politicians can't win the White House by just driving up their vote totals where they're already popular. And so what we have, every state, and this is in the Constitution in Article 2, every state has a number of electors. It's equal to however many members of the U.S. House they have, plus their 2 U.S. senators. So small states get a little bit of a boost. And the states get to decide how they select those electors. Now, today, every state except for Maine and Nebraska have a winner-take-all system. Everybody in the state votes, and whichever party's nominee gets the most votes in that state, that's who the political party whose electors get elected. And so, Donald Trump, if he gets the most votes in a particular state, then Donald Trump gets all the electoral votes from that state. In 2016, if Hillary Clinton got the most votes in a state, then she got all the electoral votes from that state. And of course, this makes people unhappy, because when you do have a candidate like Hillary Clinton who drives up the vote in California, where she was already super popular, then she wins the most popular votes, but it's basically a regional victory, and the Electoral College sets a higher bar, exactly the way the American founders wanted it to.
Now, what do they do in Maine and Nebraska? And just so I understand this right, so if you have a state, call it Wisconsin. I don't know what number they have because it's Wisconsin. Who cares anyway? But let's say they have, 10 congressmen from Wisconsin and 2 senators. So Wisconsin has 12 people in the Electoral College, correct?
Yeah. And in Maine and Nebraska, They do it by congressional district. So so each congressional district elects 1 presidential elector, and then the remaining 2 go to whoever won statewide. And actually, Barack Obama won a single electoral vote from Nebraska in 2000, and I think it was 2008, because he won the most votes in that congressional district, but all the rest of Nebraska's electoral votes went to John McCain, right? So yeah, states can break them up if they want to.
Now, why this system, Trent? I know you broke it down a little bit, but that doesn't sound fair. Shouldn't it just be a majority? Why wouldn't it just be a majority of the people? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, the Constitution is all about checks and balances, from the First Amendment to the Second Amendment to the fact that we have 2 houses of Congress and all these procedures that we go through. Every important piece of the Constitution is what they call anti-majoritarian, right? It's saying to a momentary majority, no, you don't get your way just because you are the momentary majority in our country. And the Electoral College is a part of that. The Electoral College says, look, we're going to set a higher bar. To win the White House, you have to actually win support from across a whole lot of the country. You can't just be a regional candidate. And this is really important, it keeps control over elections at the state level. So Barack Obama was not in charge of Barack Obama's reelection in 2012. Donald Trump's not in charge of Donald Trump's reelection in 2020. Instead, our quote-unquote national election is pushed down into the states, and each state oversees that process. And if there's any dispute, if there's any election fraud, it's contained in whatever state it happens in. It doesn't spill out and spoil the whole system.
How about that? States' rights. Speaking of states' rights, what is Save Our States?
Save Our States was created in 2009 to support the Electoral College, in particular against this National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. This is something that the left came up with after Al Gore lost in 2000 to try to hijack the Electoral College and force it to conform to the national popular vote. It's very clever. It's very dangerous. It might be unconstitutional, but it's an idea so dumb James Madison never thought about it, right? So the Constitution doesn't explicitly prevent states from Basically, what they would do is they would ignore how their own people vote and give away all their electoral votes based on the national popular vote. So in 2016, Hillary Clinton would have won, and that's basically what they want. They've gone around and got states to enact this into state law. It doesn't take effect unless they get enough states that they would actually control the election outcome, which would be they need states worth 270 electoral votes. But they already have states worth 196 electoral votes in the compact. They're almost 3/4 of the way to hijacking the Electoral College. This is what Save Our States fights back against. We've stopped this in state after state, and we are going to be fighting really hard in 2020 and 2021 to stop national popular vote.
Hold on. They're 3/4 of the way there? I thought this was some jerkwater movement that was getting some traction in California or something like that. They're 3/4 of the way there?
They're 3/4 of the way to doing this because they have tens of millions of dollars behind this. The Soros family, Jonathan Soros, who's George Soros' son, is a big financial backer of this. There's also a guy named John Koza from San Francisco who invented the scratch-off lottery ticket. So he wins on every scratch ticket, and he's plowing his millions into hijacking the Electoral College. He was an Al Gore presidential elector in 2000. So he got mad way back then and decided he was going to find a way to get rid of the Electoral College, and that's this National Popular Vote Compact. Now, Save Our States we're out there across the country fighting this in New Hampshire and Virginia and Colorado and Nevada, and this is just something we have to win and stop the left from hijacking our elections.